8.3 degrees Fahrenheit is 24 degrees colder than Scotland's average. Scotland being the coldest country in the United Kingdom. And these are averages. This is mental.
What? This is going to be a cold video. I'm always in Scotland and Scotland is cold. Is the US that cold? Let's find out.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those pertains to the weather, specifically the temperature, especially at this time of year when it's bloody cold here in America. And of course, I've talked about this a lot on this channel. It is freezing in the United States, specifically in the northern portion of it at this time of year. But growing up in England, I had my doubts about that. I watched a lot of American television, assumed that everywhere was palm trees and beaches, and thought, yes, I want to move there at some point in my life. This place, England, is freezing. Well, let's take a look at the facts on that, because it's not strictly true. Now, granted, of course, there are times when Britain really does get down to the point of freezing.
It's crazy because right now it's absolutely roasting. It's warm in England. So just to give you guys background, some of you guys know I grew up in Ireland, and Ireland is cold. Like, it's cold. Like, I've had nights, mornings that my fingers are gone. Like, I can't feel my fingers. Scotland, next level. Like, you're wearing 2 gloves sometimes. Actually, no, not really. Just 1 glove. I'm taking it too far. 1 glove. Boy, it's so cold. But I'm trying to think, what part of the United States would be that cold? It'd be places like Pennsylvania, Alabama. Roll Tide. Sorry, I can't say Alabama without saying Roll Tide. Sorry.
It's not a particularly common occurrence. It will happen now and again. Indeed, if you were to look at the statistics on this, if you were to look at the data from 1981 to 2010, as I did, you'll find that during the months of December, January, February, and March, which we sort of consider winter quite loosely in terms of this, that in terms of its average low temperatures, did average about freezing exactly. So 0 degrees C or, 33 degrees Fahrenheit. But that's Scotland. That's the coldest country in Britain. What about my homeland of England? Well, in that very same time, by the very same metric, England sort of averaged around about 34 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees Fahrenheit, and that of course is about 1.5 Celsius above freezing. So that's the low average, right? That's not the average, and it's not the high average. So on the whole, you're not really expecting to see Britain reach the point of freezing or even go beyond it. That doesn't mean it doesn't go beyond it or beneath it at any point. Of course, it has in history. The lowest recorded temperature in history happened in Scotland. No surprise there. No surprise indeed that it happened in Aberdeenshire in Scotland, and the temperature got down to minus 17 degrees Fahrenheit, or that's minus 27 degrees Celsius. That to us is cold. I mean, I think that is to people here.
Man, bro, that's cold. Do not tell me you guys get that weather in the United States. How do you survive that? Like, I'm the kind of person that I wear shorts. Like, I don't like wearing trousers. I don't know why. Maybe because I've got some sexy legs. Who knows? But yeah, I love wearing shorts, even in the cold. Like in the winter, like I grew up in the winter where we're playing football outside. I like wearing shorts. I just get uncomfortable when it's too. I don't like being too hot. I get too hot easily. Let me know about you guys. So, but that weather, I'm wearing like 5 jackets. I'm wearing leggings. I'm wearing women's leggings. Probably just... Do they say men leggings? They probably do. Sorry, let's get back to this. Sorry.
Here is quite cold. Similarly, the coldest temperature in English history was minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, completely unfit for humans. Nobody should be walking around in that. But, I've come to find since moving here, and this is a warning, by the way, to any British people that are also thinking of moving to the northern portion of the United States, it gets way colder than it does in Britain. Now, a bit of backstory for those of you that don't know. I left the United Kingdom about 11 years ago and moved to America's Midwest, specifically to a state called Indiana. Indiana is pretty cold. It's certainly colder on average during winter than Great Britain, but it doesn't even come close to rivaling the 5 states that we have on this list today, which, to be fair, are not even fit for tardigrades. And the same goes for Chicago too. This place gets even colder than Indianapolis. Astronomical. You may have seen my video last year during the polar vortex. I almost froze to death. I didn't. That's a lie. I was inside. I spoke a moment ago about the astronomically low temperature set in Scotland.
Yeah, I think when I hear about the Midwest, I know there's Chicago. Is Ohio in the Midwest as well? So Illinois is Chicago, Illinois. Is Illinois is like the states. and Chicago is the city, and Ohio is a state. Because I know Cleveland, Ohio. I know Akron, Ohio, because of LeBron James. Come on, they go. What a place is Pennsylvania in the Midwest? Can't think of. Is there? Let me know, please. Thank you.
Of 17 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, hold on to your hats, because the lowest ever recorded in Chicago was at O'Hare Airport, and it was minus 27 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 33 degrees Celsius below zero. That's why I've got this coat. You know, I mean, I shouldn't really be wearing it inside. This is a studio, but you suffer for your art. And so this video is really for two types of people, I suppose. It's for people from Britain, like me, that are thinking of moving over to the northern United States. And it's also for people that live in colder places than Chicago and just want to gloat after all these years of me talking about how bad it is here. I think it's hell. I can't imagine living where you do. I'm going to have to, because without further ado, here are 5 states with way colder winters than Britain. So I can tell you from experience that Wisconsin is bloody freezing. We went there for our anniversary, which just happens to be Valentine's Day. Don't ask. And of course, Valentine's Day is during one of the coldest periods in the year.
Actually, you guys, this is a question to you, mostly guys. So I'm whispering because my girlfriend's in the kitchen. I don't know to hear me. Would it be a good idea to, when it comes to proposing, would you want to propose? I don't know. I don't want to propose near Valentine's Day because that would mean. Let me know. Is it a good idea to propose near Valentine's Day or on Valentine's Day? She's not gonna see this video. Is it? Is it a good idea? I'm not thinking of proposing on Valentine's Day, but I thought to myself, you don't want to propose on your normal anniversary or on their birthday, or do you? Because if you think of it, you save a lot of money. You don't have to buy 2 gifts. By proposing on Valentine's Day, nah, that's not nice. That's not fair. That's just me being cheap, is it? Let me know down below. Thank you. Mainly the guys. The girls as well. Let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Sorry. She can't hear me. Can she? Hello? No, she can't. Thank you.
In general, so going up to Milwaukee at that day is during one of the coldest periods in the year in general. So going up to Milwaukee at that time of year, not the best idea. We'd never been, so we just wanted to check it out for the first time. And we're glad we did, but we've been advised to go again in the summer to get the real experience. Because it's just that freezing. I mean, you know, looking at those same metrics that we looked at for Scotland earlier on, during that 1981 to 2010 period, when you're talking about average lows and you add up the 5 most populous cities in Wisconsin and then take the average of that, you're looking at about 18.7 degrees Fahrenheit. That's minus 7.4 degrees C. Now, the staggering thing about that is that the most populous cities in Wisconsin are kind of more geared toward the south of the state rather than the north, where it's even colder. So the entire state average would be colder even than that. Now, it was quite hard to get a lot of the sort of just statewide averages in general. So for this very video, what I've done is taken the 5 most populous cities in the states in question and taken that same average. Nonetheless, people far smarter than me figured out that these 5 are the 5 coldest states in total. And Wisconsin, like some of the other states on this list, suffers the cold air from Canada. And because of that, you get state records like minus 55 degrees Fahrenheit.
Sorry, I just want to put a guess there. I'm guessing, you mentioned Canada there. I'm going to say states that are close to Canada might be cold. So places like Detroit, I'm feeling Michigan. Is Detroit a state? Michigan. I think Michigan's going to be there, and New York. Because they're close to Canada. I think so. Let's go. Sorry.
That's just awful. If you went out in that temperature, I'm fairly certain your head would fall off. And that was in 1996. So there are people watching this that remember that. So if you do, let me know in the comments down below if you lived in Sawyer County 24 years ago and how you kept your head on. Statistically, Wisconsin does have the 5th coldest winters in the entire nation. And I'm glad it did, because I wasn't able to include it on my list of snowiest states, you know, much to the chagrin of people that live in Wisconsin. The same can't be said of our next entry. You've got to hand it to the state of Maine. You know, one of the snowiest places in the United States and one of the coldest. It made the top 5 in both lists, and it just happens that I've been there twice. One for each weather type, I suppose, although I should say I have not had the misfortune of being there in winter. But just how cold can it get? Well, its average low temperatures just about beat Wisconsin. Once again, as with all of the states on this list, I did take the most populous cities in the state of Maine, just because those are the places that British people or any people are more likely to move to within that state. Again, if you want an idea of what hell sounds like, then just imagine that these are actually wild underestimates for the entire state. And in the case of Maine, its 5 most populous cities averaged a low temperature of about 17.6 degrees Fahrenheit during the winter months, -8 degrees C. Now we're getting somewhere pretty treacherous. These are averages, all right? These aren't extremes. And that's just in the likes of Portland, Augusta, Bangor, right? If you were to move far upstate, then your head, at the very least, would start to wobble or just freeze still. But funnily enough, while the average winter temperatures in Maine just about beat Wisconsin, its lowest all-time recorded temperature did not. In fact, Aroostook County yielded a very pathetic -50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's -45.6 degrees C for anybody who's keeping count on their shivering hand. But the next one, as is customary with these types of lists, blows that record completely out of the ice.
Minnesota.
It may not surprise you to learn that the state of Minnesota has a particularly high concentration of Scandinavian ancestry, and that's...
Yeah, I think when I watched the show How I Met Your Mother, there's a guy, it was his name, Marshall. So whenever he does like a flashback, whenever they do a flashback of when he was in college in Minnesota, it's always like cold. So that's why when I am in Minnesota, I'm getting cold vibe. It's always like cold, snowy, you know, the floor slippery. Is it that cold in Minnesota? Minnesota. Is that Minnesota Timberwolves? I think that's what the NBA team is called. Yeah, Minnesota Timberwolves. I think so. Yeah.
Scandinavian people with really high concentration of Scandinavian ancestry. And that's Scandinavian people would love Minnesota, wouldn't they? I mean, most Scandinavians were probably born in the snow, is my understanding. So they're fine with it. And they drink copious amounts of coffee and they're good. They're good. For the rest of us, this one's sort of taking the cake a little bit. But I am glad it's on the list for the very reason I was glad Wisconsin's on the list, because it didn't quite enter the list of snowiest states in America, which is balmy because it is a snowy state, just like Wisconsin. But its impressive climatic feature is just how bloody cold it is. And there are probably people watching at home going, oh, you're including wind chill in this. No, I'm not. These stats are actually before wind chill as well. Didn't mention that, did I? Minnesota's average low temperature, and again, this is just in the most populated cities, was 11.9 degrees Fahrenheit. That is -10 degrees C. Woefully horrendous. And that does not include Duluth or, you know...
Like, how do people survive? Like, do you not get like frozen pipes and all that? I'm sure if you live in all these kind of states, let me know. Do you get frozen pipes? That's like one of my biggest fears. Like, you know, cause remember I watched the big freeze that happened in Texas in 2020. Was it 2021? Yeah, when Texas got this, you know, this cold weather that came in, and they're not used to it. Obviously, I feel like if you live in this kind of states, you're used to that weather. But I feel like even if you're used to it, is it still... You must still be very cold. You're wearing a big, massive coat, but you're still going to be cold. And I'm guessing people are going to be inside most of the time. You're not going to see people just casually walking around. Let me know. What's the summer like? Is the summer warm enough? Let me know. Thank you.
You know, other places up in the north of the state. I suspect northern Minnesotans turn into T-1000 after he falls in the liquid nitrogen. They walk out the house, freeze over, try and walk a bit, and then their legs just crumble. You'd literally have to take with you one of those outdoor heaters that you find at train stations in Chicago just to survive. You might even have to press it against you. Don't do that. I'm not giving advice to anybody that's going out in winter. Anyway, after getting a brain freeze just now, I'm going to go back to the facts. And the facts are that the lowest recorded temperature in Minnesota ever was -60 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, that's -51 degrees Celsius. I mean, it surely doesn't get any colder than that. In the world, much less the United States, it does. I've never experienced a North Dakota winter, and looking at some of the facts, I probably never will. Once again, North Dakota is a very, very snowy state. Don't get me wrong, it just didn't make the list of snowiest states in the United States. but it certainly makes this list. It is the second coldest pound for pound state in the nation. Now, granted, I did build it up to suggest that it absolutely demolished the record of Minnesota, but in fact, they're tied. Minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit is also the record for North Dakota, but where it does beat Minnesota and every other entry on this list, including our final entry, its top 5 most populated cities averaged a low temperature of 8.3 degrees Fahrenheit. That's an average low. So let's put that into context now that we've delved deep into the snow, into the list. Words don't mean anything anymore. 8.3 degrees Fahrenheit is 24 degrees colder than Scotland's average. Scotland being the coldest country in the United Kingdom. And these are averages. This is mental. Someone needs to check North Dakota just to see if microbes are still thriving. So if you know anybody that lives in North Dakota, call for help. I do have it penciled in, though, to visit there at some point, and that point being...
Sorry, is South Dakota the same as well? Is South Dakota that cold as well? I'm guessing because they're right beside each other. It must be freezing as well.
Call for help. I do have it penciled in, though, to visit there at some point, and that point being probably in the middle of a summer. I'd be very interested to know if the entire state by then is just one big pool of water. So, good summer swim. Bring my shorts. Sounds good. And as the temperature continues to drop throughout, so does our next entry. So our next entry is about to drop, is what I meant.
Alaska.
It probably comes as no surprise that Alaska made it to number 1. It probably does come as a surprise that I'm dressed like a bounty hunter. Just bear with me on this and we will get through it. Alaska is bloody cold, but of course it is. It's much more northern than the rest of the United States. It's also more western and eastern, fun fact. But all that aside, if you take some of its most populous cities, so Anchorage, Fairbanks, Juneau and the like, take the average of their lowest winter temperatures, you get a whopping 14.5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's actually not as high as I expected. And that's because a lot of their most populated cities are very much in the southern portion of Alaska. And Alaska is a huge state. So this now, I'm starting to see why using popular cities is bad for data. And I shouldn't have done that. It specifically doesn't work for Alaska just because of its sheer size and the fact that in the northern portion, it gets just astronomically cold. So chances are if you are going to move to Alaska, it probably will be one of the big cities and you'll probably be fine. Unless that city is Fairbanks, which, and I had to reread this a few times, its average low temperature in that same exact time wasn't just below 0 on the Celsius scale. It was minus 11.25 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm never going to Fairbanks, Alaska. Alaska's cold, and not only is it top of the pile when we're talking about average low temperatures during winter, but its coldest ever temperature would make Mr. Freeze cry horrible frozen tears, and he was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. The coldest temperature recorded in the state of Alaska, and indeed the United States of America, was more like something you'd see on Pluto. It was minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 62 degrees Celsius. I overdid it for this video. I overdressed for the comedy factor. But the truth is, I'd probably die in that temperature if I went out in just this for, an hour. That could be an exaggeration. I've got nothing to check it against because I've never known. No one's known temperatures like that except maybe, 4 people from the early 1970s. If you're watching, let me. It's very unlikely. That's it for this episode. A bonus mention for South Dakota and Michigan and, Montana. They didn't quite make the cut, but they weren't far away. And in Montana's case, it once recorded minus 70 degrees. So don't move there. As ever, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you haven't had a chance to do so, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the pond, and I'm just going to remove that now. It's very hard to breathe. I want to do a big shout out to all of my patrons who make this channel possible. Without them, none of this research would have been possible. I factor that into the time that I justify to myself every time I do one of these.
Sorry, what an absolute legend. You guys check him out. I've seen 1 or 2 of it. No, more than that. I've seen a few of his videos. He's got great knowledge, great knowledge. I love him. Very funny guy as well. But yeah, I think when it comes to like cold seas, I think the fact that Alaska, I think it's closer to Russia, isn't it? So that's why Bobby colder. It's Yakutsk. Yakutsk near Russia. Is Yakutsk in Russia or Belarus? So I'm confused. I think that's the coldest place in the world. I've seen a video of it. It's freezing. It's like people have to leave their cars running every time. Like, you can't park your car and go in. Your car has to be running. If you leave the engine's gonna die. Like, Yakutsk, You guys do your research, check out Yakut. It's absolutely freezing. Yeah, I knew Michigan was gonna be somewhere around there, Montana, but I thought Montana would be hot. I think because I'm thinking of horses and everything. I'm probably wrong, but yeah, you guys want to see more stuff like this, you know what to do. Subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye.